Hello everyone. We are back with more Great Ace Attorney 2. It is the 22nd of February, 9:23 a.m. The Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. The Old Bailey. This place always makes me feel strange. I mean, I can see why that would be the case. I mean, you're literally walking into a place where someone's life is on the line, one way or the other. I seem to get chills down my spine and break out in a nervous sweat all at the same time. Yeah, that happens. Well, I didn't think I'd be back here so soon. Oh yeah, it's literally been like 1 or 2 days. That's my line! No, it would be you. Good morning! Uh, good morning, Mr. Natsume. It was only 2 days ago that I was declared not guilty here. Yes, we somehow managed to prove he didn't stab Miss Green in the back. But now this! Another morning, another murder, and here I am again in this hellhole. Can't keep coming to court. I'm beginning to think he's right. It really does seem as though he's cursed. I mean, he does have to deal with the Reaper's curse at least, but he hasn't died yet, so there's that at least. Mr. Naruto, I'm afraid I have bad news. Oh. Mr. Natsume, good morning. You just mentioned bad news. What do I have to deal with now? Yes, morning. So, here we are again. Yes, again. Well, this is kind of awkward. Judicial Assistant Miss Miko Toba Esquires, what's the bad news? Oh dear, you heard, did you? If you come in shouting at the top of your voice, people can't help hearing what you say. Oh, I am sorry. You've done nothing wrong, Mrs. Sato. Now, what is it? I never get tired of Sasuke's theme. I say that as it fades away. Well, it seems that the prosecution in today's trial... Oh, man. I wonder who it could be. I bet you it's Prosecutor Pain, and it's Prosecutor Ouchie, and he brought himself all the way to the Old Bailey to face Ryunosuke. Will be led by Lord Barrick von Zykes. Big shock there. Who would have thunk it? Von Zykes? Oh no! Oh no no! Oh no 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 no! The so-called Reaper of the Bailey, the most legendary prosecutor in the land. Ah, this dude. In the trial 2 days ago, he pursued Sasuke-san and I relentlessly. Gotta remember that this takes place in between Case 4 and 5 of the previous game. Of course, by the skin of our teeth. We managed to pull through, but still. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Perhaps Mr. Natsume's acquittal in the last trial wasn't the end of the matter. After all. Yes, I know what you're thinking. The legend of the Reaper that says, nothing can save a person in the dock when Lord Van Zykes is the prosecutor. I mean, we know that that's not the case. I mean, we know that Sasuke made it and survived to Japan. Both because of last case and, well, just the end of the last game as well. Oh no. But then again, we're in the past, so we gotta think from the perspective of people in the past. That even if that person is found not guilty, the accused will meet a mysterious end one way or another. And we've experienced it firsthand. Yep, Mr. McGill did. The man we successfully defended met the most terrifying end after his acquittal. Right here in the Old Bailey. Good lord. Ah, do I have to put up with those ice-cold eyes bored into my soul again? Cursed by evil spirits and now by the Reaper. Pair of petrifying perils, potentially. Well, if it's potentially, at least you appear to have hope, Mr. Natsume. Locum student Mr. Naruto, Esquire. Yes. I'm innocent. You have to believe me. You, more than anyone now. Don't worry. I'll be your steadfast ally every step of the way in this battle. I promise. Be it heaven or hell, we'll rock all the same. This promises to be a hard battle, I fear. And it shall. Well, the trial is scheduled to begin shortly. We should move into the courtroom. Let's go. Oh yes, I forgot to say. I'm afraid he won't be able to make it. Mr. Sholmes, I mean. That's probably for the best. Oh? If he were here, I might be tempted to rely on his help. True. And also, it probably wouldn't be the best because, you know, Sholmes's deductions and whatnot tend to be more detrimental than they are helpful, frankly. In most cases, at least. And that could be seen as a weakness. If Lord Van Zykes were to notice, he'd prey on it mercilessly. At least, that's my gut feeling. Mr. Naruhodo. You're right. Yes, you're so right. Oh, well said, locum student, Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Well said. I swear on the sword at my side and on the spirit of Kazuma that it harbors. I'll show him what a Japanese lawyer can do. I'll set you free, with honor. Oh, yes. Alright, time to head to the court. Man, it is cold as hell in this funky-ass, cold-ass room I'm in. Is that the Grim Reaper? Sorry. I set up that joke like 5 minutes before recording. I just wanted to make that reference. Oh god, the judge. It's been a while. Think, old man, Saint Nick, voice, come to me. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare the court in session. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. Ah, there he is again. Ah, man. Have to get back into this dude's voice, too. The prosecution is ready. The defense is ready, my lord. Readiness for the trial, my learned Nipponese friend, is not what the defense needs. What you need is readiness for your inevitable defeat, says the dude that's lost to us 2 times in a row. Frickin' nerd. Get owned, stinky. It's not just in my imagination. It's really there. Lord Van Zykes has such an animosity towards us Japanese for some reason. I mean, I feel like that's a decent amount of the English in this game. It was some time ago now that he first became known as the Reaper of the Bailey, I believe. These past few years, he hasn't appeared in court at all. Yeah, and he came out just in order to dunk on us. And now he's back in the courtroom. Though for some reason, only when I'm defending. This Reaper, with his curious disdain for us Japanese, is a prosecutor shrouded in mystery. Hopefully we'll get to the end of that mystery by the end of this game. Who knows? Time will tell. Still, this isn't the time to be pondering that. I have to concentrate on Sosuke-san's trial. Furthermore, I now call upon the 6 ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I was so focused on my joke that I didn't even see who we do and don't have here. You have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this trial. Are you ready to fulfill your duty? Chosen at random, he says, and yet it'll probably be like mostly people we've already met in the previous game. Among the 6 million in London or whatever was said. Oh god. Oh, I already see 2 familiar faces here. God, what voice did I give this man? I guess I could just get... a regular dude voice? I don't know. Absolutely, I had a feeling that Larrikin wasn't innocent before. Oh, this dude was in... Was this dude in trial... Oh yeah, he was in trial 4, because he was a witness in trial 3. Duh. I must say that I feel especially ruthless on days when my hat refuses to sit right. Oh, my favorite. Oh, oh, oh god. Well, that's a new person on the left there. I'm glad we get to see this dude again. He's one of my favorite jurors. God, what voice did I... Oh, I don't remember any of the voices I used for jurors. Oh, well, I rather like how you're wearing your hat. I think the ruthless look is very fetching, actually. I need to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I have a very important meeting. Let's make this quick. Oh, ho, ho, ho. I feel like I have to give her a, like, some type of regal type voice. Oh, wait a second. Is this... Oh my god. Wait, this is literally just the exact same court. This is the exact same jurors as frickin' case 4. Except for juror number 4, who I think is replacing the Garridubs. I couldn't agree more. I need to take home 5 bob tonight or the missus will go through the roof. May the Lord show us all the light here and lead his flock to a righteous victory. Verdict. I'm an old man. I'm an old man. Hey, people. Maybe I could do like an Old Man Jenkins voice from SpongeBob for the old dude. That might have been what I did in the first game, actually. Well, hi there, young folk. Nice day today. The British jury system is so very different to our own, isn't it? It's quite extraordinary to think that the power of judgment is in the hands of 6 members of the public, and that the judge can only pass sentence when all jurors are in agreement about the defendant's guilt. 6 citizens of London, chosen at random. Or at least, that's the idea. Except I know 5 of these people. The prosecution would draw attention to the fact that the accused was on trial here but 2 days ago. Accordingly, where possible, the same jurors have been asked to return for duty today. Very well. Let us commence the trial. Lord Van Zykes, your opening statement, please. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, it is not the intent of the prosecution to cast doubt over your past decision. However, the innocent verdict afforded to this eccentric Nipponese before has had dire consequences. Did the accused repent for his wrongdoing in that affair? Far from it. He didn't do anything bad back then, besides run away from a corpse. Instead, he used his freedom to perpetrate a most blood-curdling crime. Namely, that of the attempted murder of his neighboring lodger, an innocent Englishman. I kind of hope we get Soseki to actually have testimony this time. I mean, we got it in the first case, but I mean, like, back in the 4th case of 1, he didn't even take the stand at all. He was literally just in the back. To explain the circumstances of the crime, the prosecution calls its first witness to the stand, Tobias Gregson. Let us begin. The detective responsible for investigating the scene, and the accused himself. Oh shoot, so Soseki's also taken the stand already. Always good to see. I'm always a fan of him. Though voicing him does put some strain on my chords, not gonna lie. Witnesses, your names and occupations, please. It's not nearly as bad as McGilded was. Yes, sir. Tobias Gregson, Detective Inspector at Scotland Yard's Homicide Division. Soseki Natsume from the Empire of Japan. My government ordered me to come here as a student to study your language and culture. Mr. Natsume. Yes, my lord, sir. I'm quite sure I'm not mistaken. That you swore an oath never to set foot in my courtroom again. I remember it as if it were yesterday. I think it's because it was yesterday, my lord. The day before, in fact, my lord, but close enough. Yeah, 2 days ago. Sorry, my bad. My bad. Oh, believe me, this is the last place I want to be. Inspector, let's hear it from you first. Explain the case for the court. Right you are, sir. Okay. The incident occurred at the Garrett household, where the defendant has lodgings. In the ground floor room of the victim, Mr. William Shakespeare. The defendant has already admitted to visiting the victim on the night in question. Mr. Shakespeare collapsed in his room as a result of poisoning by strychnine. Strychnine? I don't know. He was found the following morning when the landlord, suspecting something was wrong, broke down the door. This means I presume that the door to the victim's room was locked at the time of the incident. Correct, my lord. It was locked from the inside, making entry to or exit from the room impossible. Entry to or exit from the room impossible. Sorry. I had to read that one over a few times. I'm too focused on how I'm going to rip Natsume over here to shreds. Sorry, I don't mean Natsume, I gotta say Nipponese. Although the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, lives to tell a tale, he very nearly did it. The man was halfway to heaven when we first found him. I was the first officer on the scene, my lord. And I have a photographic print here that I took at the time to show how it looked. Damn, that's some nice art. Yes, a chilling scene indeed. The man looks very much deceased. That's right. Everyone present believed that's exactly what it was. Very well, I shall accept this photographic print as evidence for the court. The crime scene photograph has been entered into the court record. Now then, Mr. Natsume. Oh, yes. As the defendant, do you have anything to say at this juncture? They're haunted by evil spirits. You know, it's probably not going to look good to the court if you say that type of stuff, my man. Good gracious. Good gracious, what's haunted? My lodgings. There's been a whole series of strange happenings in my lodgings. The tenant before me died in mysterious circumstances. A woman was stabbed by no one on the street outside. My neighbor was poisoned. And me, what about me? I've nearly been killed countless times. Killed, Mr. Natsume? How? Even on that fateful night it happened when I returned from Mr. Shakespeare's room. I lit my gas stove and climbed into bed, but before long, that stove went out, and someone tried to kill me. You must always extinguish all fires before retiring for the night, Mr. Natsume. But it's so cold, my runny nose would freeze. The point is, I did poison my neighbor. Oh, why am I being accused of this? Why is my existence so cursed? Thank you, witnesses. I believe I have a reasonably clear picture of events. If I could raise one more point, my lord. One more conclusive point. Oh, shut up. It ain't gonna be conclusive, and you know it. Because we're gonna get around you. Conclusive? Go on. Fortunately, the victim, Mr. Shakespeare, has regained consciousness after his ordeal. And he has named the true culprit. The poison consumed by the victim was administered in a cup of tea that he drank on the night in question. Tea, my lord, that was brought to the victim's room by the accused. Oh shit, that doesn't look good. The accused, good grief! Oh no. Please don't tell me you already have a summation examination right off the bat. Order, order! Order. I say that every time. Anytime I have to say order twice in fast succession. Yes, that's the crux of this whole case. If Sosuke-san is innocent, then why? Why has the victim accused him? Well, Mr. Natsume, what have you to say to this accusation? That evening, yes, I did take some freshly brewed tea with me when I visited Mr. Shakespeare's room as a gift. The public water pump outside always freezes at night, so I bought bottled water especially to make it. And this is the result. Never will I touch tea again, never. The public pump was frozen, you say? That's not information we've heard before. That will do, thank you. Now, according to our laws, the defense must have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses at least once. Oh, good. Well, that's good. At least it means we're not going to get frickin' sent to the Shadow Realm from the get-go. Therefore, I call upon these witnesses now for a formal testimony. I presume the prosecution has no objection. None whatsoever, my lord. Yeah. Now sit back and watch how the master gets it done. Good. Then you will give your account of events on the night in question to the court now. Yes, my lord. Yay. Witness testimony. Swing. The catastrophic night. It was around 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor, and I took some tea with me as a gift. We had a heated literary debate over a nice hot drink, after which I went back to my room at around 11. My tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Strike 9, maybe? Wait a second. Okay, sorry. I had to go check someone because if it is pronounced Strike 9, then that's actually a reference to a previous Ace Attorney game, I think. I think it was the name of a type of poison used in a case. I don't remember what game it was, but I remember the name. 20% pleasure, 20% pain, and 100% reason to remember the name. The victim would have been perfectly able to lock the door after his guests left. The argument still stands. I didn't even read the rest of the line. Whoops. Yes, I see. It all seems relatively straightforward. Excuse me, but that testimony does raise one other crucial point, I think. Mr. Natsume claims his tea to have been harmless. Presumably, though, the teacups have been examined for traces of the poison. Haven't they? Why didn't I think of that? Well, as it happens, no. We haven't been able to. Did I hear you correctly, Inspector? Scotland Yard has failed to examine the suspect's substance. How could you have overlooked something so important? Isn't it the first thing you should have done? My learned Nipponese friend is falsely incensed. The inspector said Scotland Yard was unable to examine the tea, not that it was overlooked. Unable? Why? It's simple enough. There was none left. Not a drop. Someone must have been very thirsty indeed. What do you mean they... With current scientific techniques, it's not possible to test for poison under such circumstances. We only need a drop, but that one drop does actually have to exist, funnily enough. Was there not any residue or anything? The lack of examination notwithstanding, it appears nothing other than the tea passed the victim's lips on the night in question. Yeah, the day after, though, he said some stuff passed his lips. Quoting Macbeth, mostly. I see. Thank you. The matter is clear. Cast your eyes over the jury, my learned friend. What? You can see it in their faces, I'm sure, the recognition of the accused's guilt. Your client's fate is all but sealed. In mere moments from now, you will lose, and your compatriot will be damned for all eternity. He's right. I can feel all 6 of the jurors looking daggers at me. Face smack. But I can't let them beat me down. I won't. Counsel for the defense, proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Are you okay? What do we got? Cross-examination. The catastrophic night. Time to press every statement. Were you and your neighbor good friends then? No. We weren't friends. Not at all, not at all. Never. Ever. A simple no would have sufficed. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of this with Sasuke, and I'm here for it. Even if my vocal cords aren't. My cords of steel. Then, why did you decide to pay him a visit? Mr. Shamspear fancies himself as having great literary knowledge. As a fellow scholar of English literature, we find much to talk about together. Come now, no Nipponese could understand the finer points of English literature. Okay, get your racism out of here, you bitch ass. No one asked you. And on the night in question, that was the topic of conversation as well, I presume. It was the day of my last trial when I was acquitted. I just arrived back at my lodgings. When I ran into Mr. Shamspear outside on the street, that was at around 6 o'clock. We exchanged one or two pleasantries, but it soon turned into a heated discussion. He was on his way out at the time, though. So I promised to visit his room that evening at 9 to continue our debate. But did I have ill intentions? No, not one, not two, not any. Not at all. 1, 2, 3. Never, ever. A simple no would have sufficed, I feel. Then tell the court what did happen when you visited the victim's room. Alright, how many statements do we have here? 5. 5 is the usual number, not too surprised there. A literary debate about Shakespeare's works, I think you said, didn't you? Shakespeare, very worthy topic of the conversation, I must say. Oh yes, my lord. Romeo and Juliet, who was stronger? It was a profoundly pleasurable parley. Romeo and Juliet? Who was stronger? I know I'm gonna regret asking this, but how did the debate go? Oh, I won, of course. Well, we both agreed that we would reach a conclusion more quickly with a reenactment. So we battled it out. In a Greco-Roman style, naturally. What? Mr. Shamspear had all sorts of costumes in his room for just such a contest. So when you say a reenactment, you mean you were actually in costume? He is Romeo, I is Juliet. And after a vigorous wild tussle... A vigorous wild tussle. I is Juliet came out on top. A victory I'll cherish forever. I dare not imagine the terrible scene of carnage. Yo, can I want to see fan art of frickin' Sasuke dressed up as Juliet, not gonna lie. The fact remains that it was you who prepared the tea and took it to the victim, correct? I boiled the water in my room and made a pot to take with me. I'd heard that he was too poor to have tea himself, you see. It's true, there was no sign of any tea leaves in the man's room. Poor. I feel bad for that dude. Wanted to do something nice, to be friendly. So why is everyone looking at me with such suspicion? My tea was harmless, of course it was. Do you have any basis for that statement, witness? Based on what? Oh, my tea was completely harmless. He couldn't have locked the door behind me otherwise, could he? Yes, there was not a drop of tea left in the victim's room anywhere, was there? That's correct. Anyone would think the fellow had never had a pot of tea before. He must have licked it dry. Which is a pity, because one drop is all we would need to analyze it for poison. And you say that you returned home to your room at 11 o'clock, Mr. Nuts. Mr. Natsume, sorry, I had a yawn. Yes, definitely. By heaven and earth, I swear it. Okay, but what about the sea, huh? The landlord was able to verify that as it happens. He confirmed that the defendant went back to his room at 11 that night. And how is the landlord able to attest to this? He Said it was the lamps, I believe. The lamps, Inspector? When tenants return to their rooms and start using gas, the lamps in other parts of the house flicker. Yes, Mr. Garrett seems to pay a lot of attention to the coming and goings of his tenants. There's only one key to Mr. Shamspeare's room, I know that for certain. So he must have locked the door himself, from inside his room. The victim has confirmed that to be the case, yes? So I'm right, my tea was harmless, completely harmless. If you take poison, you die, everyone knows that. It's not that simple, I'm afraid. Uh-oh, what do you mean? Strychnine takes some time to have an effect on the body. People don't keel over immediately after taking it. Alright, let's talk about that. How long does it take for symptoms to appear, then? According to the coroner I was speaking to at the yard, about 30 minutes after the poison's consumed. Then the victim suffers violent convulsions, cramping, and stiffness, and eventually dies from asphyxiation. So there's a 30-minute interval between when the poison is ingested and the onset of symptoms. There seems to be a lot of different types of poison in the world, that's for sure. Oh dear. Death by poisoning again. It's always so awful. 30 minutes is a long time. Certainly long enough for the victim to have locked the door behind the accused after he left. Can't deny that. And it further degrades Soseki-san's alibi. Alibi. I have the medical report from the doctor who examined the victim here, my lord. It spells it out, really. The accused is the only person who could have done it. Oh good, add that to the court record, please. Very well, the court will add this report to the court record as evidence. Good, good, good. I'll read that after we go through the other stuff. Oh yes, I see it here. Delayed onset of symptoms. Great. Alright. Is this the last statement, I think? The argument still stands, you say. Or is this the fourth? This is what Mr. Natsume has been saying, isn't it? The pair of them drank tea together that night. So if there was poison in it, the victim wouldn't have been able to lock the door after the accused left later on. Exactly. Me and my tea are innocent, sweet, and innocent, I tell you. I'm afraid, sir, that doesn't follow. You see, strychnine is a slow-acting poison. In other words, it takes time for symptoms to appear. So you could have left the room up to 30 minutes after the victim drank the tea. And as long as you did that, Mr. Shamspeare could have locked the door after you'd gone. But no! We drank the tea straight away. The battle over whether Romeo or Juliet was stronger. One sec. Do you have any evidence to support that statement? In my great homeland, the Empire of Japan, we have a saying. Don't drink tea while it's hot. Sure, a proverb will satisfy the prosecution. Whillin. I'm afraid there's no conclusive proof to support the defendant's assertion. On the contrary, there are sufficient grounds to infer his guilt in this matter. No. That's the extent of their testimony, is it? If I could voice a personal opinion, Mr. Naruhodo. Of course, go ahead. Mr. Natsume is arguing for his innocence so adamantly and so persistently. Yet Inspector Gregson just brushes what he says aside. It's really quite infuriating. I agree. So we need to find an inconsistency in what the inspector is saying, I think. I'm afraid so. As things stand, the jurors are sure to find Mr. Natsume guilty. As I see it, what we need to focus on is the poison in the tea. Let's listen carefully to this testimony again. Yes. Alright, let's see what we got. Okay, first off, we haven't examined most of this stuff. Customer, Mr. Natsume, oh, those are the books, right? Okay, there's the lodgings. It's the same stuff that we got in the past, though there's got to be a reason for it. Nothing. Might as well examine it for dialogue. Whoever opened this envelope didn't bother with a letter opener or scissors, did they? Yes, whoever opened it was clearly someone with an unrefined temperament. And judging from the angle of the rip here, the person in question must have been right-handed. Mr. Sato, I think perhaps someone's been reading too much of the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You can never read too much of it, Mr. Naruhodo. Never. Yeah, that's what someone who's addicted would say. Whoa. Hello. What the hell's this? Oh. What is it, Mr. Naruhodo? This bar of soap. When we first found it, I could have sworn there was some sort of round disc in this depression just here. A reddish one. Yes, you're right. I remember it too. But now the depression is completely empty. Where could the disc have gone? A cheap bar of soap that was discovered just outside Mr. Shamspeare's window. The little reddish medallion from the center has mysteriously vanished. Huh. Okay. Huh. This is the teacup from which Mr. Natsume was drinking. Yes, unlike the other one, the inside of the cup is completely clean. I suppose he must have drunk the contents before the tea had a chance to leave a mark. I always gulp it down, too. Sorry, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, if you just sip it little by little, it goes cold. Clearly, I shall have to instruct you in the proper way to take tea. No, please. There is no tea rain on the inside of Mr. Natsume's cup. Interesting. Huh. What do we got here? Not much that we haven't seen before. I do see one thing, though. What the heck's with this puddle over here? Is that just... I mean, considering this game, this probably has something to do with the case. Huh. Guess I'll have to just keep it in mind for later. Okay, let's look at this. Victim, William Shamspeare. 31 years old. Damn, 31? I don't know if to say he looks bad or good for his age, honestly. 30 is a pretty average range, so... Cause of coma. Ingestion of a small quantity of strychnine. Toxic effects present 30 minutes after ingestion. High likelihood of the substance having been mixed with the tea the victim was drinking, but no sample could be obtained for testing. Investigative conclusions. The poisoning incident occurred at around 1:30 a.m. on 21st of February. Assessed from the victim's pocket watch that appears to have broken when the man collapsed after the delayed onset of symptoms. No container for the poison was found at the scene. Okay. 9 o'clock that evening when I visited my neighbor and I took some tea with me.
Objection!
Yeah, this sounds right. Mr. Natsume, you say it was 11 p.m. when you left to return to your room, right? Yes. And Inspector Gregson, can we rely on the information in the medical report unconditionally? Of course we can. There's no problem with that report, Sunshine. Actually, I think there's a very big problem. Because there's a chronological inconsistency between it and the defendant's testimony. What? What are you on about? According to this report, the victim must have consumed the poison at around 1:30 in the morning. And yet, the defendant, Mr. Natsume, left the victim's room at 11. Yes, that's right. There's more than 2 hours of missing time there. In other words, if there was poison in the tea that Mr. Natsume brought to the victim's room, how could the victim have fallen ill to it 2.5 full hours after the defendant left? Oh, wow, they were really in sync there. The defense's argument is entirely reasonable. How do you respond, Lord Van Zykes? Oh, he fills the first chalice of the case. And Crushes it? Throws it? Actually, what's it? Oh, neither. Okay. Pray forgive the discourtesy if my mind has wandered. I was considering what cuisine would best complement the contents of my hollowed chalice this luncheon. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon. Sorry. I just thought about steamed hams. Steamed hams. How could it have happened, you ask? Crush. There's the first broken chalice. I do hate to shadow illusions, but my Nipponese friend appears to be chasing a phantom idea. A phantom? Is it so hard to imagine that the victim drank his tea after the accused had left? For example, at the time stated in the medical report. Yes, at around 1:30.
Objection!
Mr. Natsume brought the tea with him to drink together with his neighbor. And in Japan, there is a well-known saying, drink tea while it's hot.
Objection!
And in my country, there is an even more apt saying. There is nothing more refreshing than cold tea. The point is, if there was such a long gap, there may be other ways to explain how the victim came to be poisoned. Other possibilities. What sort of possibilities, Counsel? Eyes start wandering. He's like, oh shit, I didn't think that far. I don't know, I didn't think I'd get this far. Oh well, for example, the man could have had another visitor. Another visitor. That's a very bold assertion, my learned friend, from someone who has nothing to substantiate it. Or the victim could have taken the poison of his own volition. You suggest this may have been a suicide, Counsel.
Objection!
Mr. Shamspeare has categorically denied suicide. The idea can and must be discounted.
Objection!
The pathetic slap is back. I missed it. But he could be lying. He's just like, did I really just hear you say that, you utter simpleton? Is something wrong, Lord Van Zykes? I was listening to the sound of the carriage pulling up outside the courtroom. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Carriage? What carriage? The carriage to carry your Nipponese friend to prison. It would seem that the key player in this case has just arrived. Wait a second. Huh? Who? Excuse me? Oh my god. It's him. Oh, well, shit. I'd say this is a good enough place as any to end the episode. Next time on Great Ace Attorney 2. We see more of, well, the trial, I guess. And we will see whoever this mysterious new person is. I wonder who it could be. Adios, ciao, and bye-bye. Signing off until next time. Ja, matane.